So we're going to ask everyone to mute your mics and welcome to Building Your Global Brand. We are in our second week of our 8-week series. That's right. Every Tuesday during July and August, June, July, and August, not every Tuesday in July. It's 8 of them, 8 in total. We're on our second one of Building Your Global Brand, where we're talking to Bahamians who have built a global brand for themselves. And last week was so amazing. I just finished. I uploaded the YouTube video. I'm going to put it in the Creative Industry Tourism Council group on Facebook. If you're not in that group on Facebook, you want to join that group. That's where we put all the information about what's going on in Bahamas as it pertains to creative industry, tourism, and so forth. And so you definitely want to get in that group. And so we're so excited for this series. We've had, just last week was so amazing. We had Jimmy Mackey from MacFit 360, and that was a great interview. And tonight we're in for a treat with another great interview. And this series is brought to you by, as I said, the Creative Tourism Industry Council. That is a council that was created by the Tourism Development Corporation. And we are going to have a representative from the Tourism Development Corporation just to bring some remarks and share a little bit with you about the Creative Tourism Industry Council. We're also going to have one of our members come on and share a little bit about why they are part of the council and what our role is when it comes to the council. And then we're going to get into the reason why you're all here, which is our interview. One of the things that I want to let you know is after the interview, we're giving away a prize, and it's a good prize. Not that last week wasn't a good prize with our Amazon gift card, but it's worth way more this week because we had a great donation. So I can't wait to, so if you want that prize, you got to stick around, you got to pay attention, make sure you got to ask questions at the end, so that you could be eligible for that prize. I see Mr. Walks, Mr. Walks is our connect when it comes to the Tourism Development Corporation. I don't think he's coming on the mic this evening, but I just want to recognize him. Giorgio Walks. He is the linkage manager at the Tourism Development Corporation. His mic's up. Are you saying hello? No, his mic is not up. But he is a great part of, being hand in hand with the Creative in Tourism Industry Council to make sure that we get what we need done. But he's not coming on the mic today, but we just want to say thank you for all that you do. But I do want to introduce Mr. Ian Ferguson, who is the CEO of the Tourism Development Corporation, and allow him to come on and just bring some remarks. We're so grateful that he allowed us to take on this series, and to have that opportunity to share with you, the larger community, about Bahamians that are building a global brand. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Mr. Ian Ferguson to bring some remarks on behalf of EDC. Ian.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karel, for the introduction. And thank you for this and all you do in the name of the Creative Industry Council, and of course, by extension, the Tourism Development Corporation. I am just so delighted that we have such a competent array of professionals in the orange economy who have committed their time, their energy, their resources to helping us accomplish these national goals. And that is, of course, to drive home the need that we need proper legislation around what will encourage us to stop the leakage and remind Bahamians that we are worthy, and the work that we do is powerful, it's meaningful, it has a global presence. Of course, creating those business opportunities, creating those events that will encourage not just domestic tourism, but international visitors who want to experience what we have. But most importantly, as is the reason for our coming together tonight, to help us drive training and learning and development opportunities for those persons who absolutely need to grow in this space. So I just say thank you. We're all here for the learning. We all have room, I believe, to build capacity. So let's get it. Thank you again, Karel. Thank you, team. And I'm excited to hear from our awesome presenter today. I'm very excited. Been waiting a couple of days for this, so let's have it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ian. I appreciate you so much. Before we get into our speaker, I want to see, who do we have in the room? We just kind of like to get a poll of who we have here. Let me know which island you are from. Are you from Grand Bahama? Are you from Nassau? Yes, I said Grand Bahama first because I'm from Grand Bahama, even though I am currently presently located in Providence. That is my hometown. From Exuma? Are you from Andres? Where do we have our persons? Okay, see, Grand Bahama, I told y'all. They in the building.
Nassau.
Nassau, Grand Bahama. See, Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama. See my Grand Bahama people. They show up on Zoom and they represent. Get them in the. We heard that Nasuvian on the mic. Eleuthera, yay! So, Tarani, are you based in Eleuthera now, or are you just from Eleuthera? That is so cool. Shandy is from Grand Bahama. Nassau. Robin is from Nassau. From Eleuthera, based in Nassau. Okay, cool. Still amazing. Okay, awesome. All right, Nassau. Okay, so we got Nassau, Inagua. Vashti, are you in Inagua? Are you from Inagua, the capital, Miss Fountain? And then the last thing that I wanted to ask before we bring on our council member who's just going to greet you before we get into the interview. The last thing I wanted to ask was, are you an actress, an aspiring actress, a director, a writer, producer, or you're just a creative professional or creative supporter? We want to know if we have any actresses, aspiring actresses, writer, producer. Okay, great. We have some actors in the building. Awesome. So take your questions and have your questions ready. Actors. Awesome. Actress. Yay. We got some a writer. Yes. This is good for writers to learn some things from these actors as well. Actress and creative supporter. Awesome. Actress and writer. Awesome. Creative professional. Actress. Film department. Awesome. Writer. Awesome. And yeah, shout out to Lajisha Bullard. That's my assistant. She's also a writer. She's helping us out, and you're going to get great information tonight. Awesome. Okay, so as I promised, we have one of our council members. Each week, we're going to try to bring a council member so you can meet, because I am the current chairman of the Creative Industry Tourism Council, but we have several members that are part of the council, and you would have seen on the first episode of this series, I showed a photo of all of the members, and I think Miss Fountain is one of our members who is here tonight. So thank you so much, Nicolette, for being here. We appreciate you. And we're going to bring on Bodine, who's just going to bring some remarks on behalf of the council. So Bodine, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having a fantastic evening and that the day has not worn on us a little bit too much. I'm Bodine Victoria. This is how I prefer to be referred to. And I am, my Instagram says that I'm a singer, but I'm more than that. I am an actress, entertainer, not just a singer, because I sing while I entertain. There's a difference. And I have 20 years experience in broadcasting, that's radio, television production. And I'm a script writer for advertisements and a television host and so much more. The span of my creative talents has earned me quite a bit of money in the first half of 2023, which I am grateful for. And I promote, the majority of my clients are not only corporate Bahamas and corporate international clients, but they also happen to be small woman-owned businesses that need the influence that I have acquired to help promote their brands. And so the Creative Industry Council is something that is near and dear to my heart as somebody who has seen her mother move from being a high school dropout to being a teacher of typing, and then seeing my grandmother and my aunts who started out in the straw market being their amazing selves, and my cousins being put through high school and college as a result of their efforts. So before I get into the purpose of the council, my personal purpose is to improve the overall wellness, productivity, and success of the creative community, and to develop, improve, and affect changes in policy and legislation designed to preserve the culture of the Bahamas and the rights of the creative community. So I'm very big on intellectual property rights, and preserving that for the teachers all the way up to everybody that it falls under, which is really big, and I'm getting there, but being part of the council is also my contribution to learning and being able to access the resources and pass that information on to other people. And now we get into the mission of the council. Our mission actually is to fulfill the goal of equipping creative professionals with the tools to build global brands that are celebrated and supported by visitors and locals of the Bahamas. And that means that we create and support events where creative professionals can be seen. We provide social networking and collaboration opportunities in conjunction with our stakeholders, and we provide educational opportunities, which I and my team are responsible for. Job opportunities. So if things are coming up, we point you in the direction of where they can be found. But through the educational opportunities, we're also able to make sure that you are equipped for those opportunities as they come up. We affect legislation, which means that when we find that the creative community needs something to be changed on the policy and the legislative level, we find ways to kind of agitate for them where necessary, make suggestions, and support the research that shows that there's a need for the change. And so, in the words of Ms. Pam Burnside, who happens to be a person that I respect immensely, our creative professionals within the orange economy, that is a term that she coined, the orange economy, we are here to provide each and every one of us collectively with the support and information, education, and opportunities needed for us to be successful. And we are grateful for the support of all of our persons in the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the other ministries that have provided their support, in addition to the SBDC. And I'm going to get in trouble because there are quite a number of other persons that are on this call that are working with our regional partners to make things happen. But for the most part, to everybody, we just want to say thank you. And also welcome. And also to Sanaya, who I did my interview with almost like 10, 12 years ago. We're so happy to have you here. But I'm not going to preempt Karel. Gentlemen, ladies, have a fantastic time. This is going to be a great evening.
Awesome. Thank you, Bodine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I saw that there are some people who just came in. We're super excited to have you here. One of the things that I wanted to know in the chat, if this is the first time, when you heard about the series, was this the first time hearing about the Tourism Development Corporation or the Creative Industry Tourism Council? Was it your first time, yes or no? First time hearing about the Tourism Development Corporation or the first time hearing about the Creative Tourism Industry Council? The reason I'm asking is that's one of the reasons we want to do these events, to let the wider community know that we're here and we're here for support. And the great thing about the Tourism Development Corporation, the Ministry of Tourism, first time for both, good to know. Ministry of Tourism promotes and markets our country, but the Tourism Development Corporation focuses on us as Bahamians. They help to give us the resources so that we're maximizing what we have to offer, so that there are tourists that are coming to the island because of us. There are people that are seeing the brands that we are building, and they're deciding, I'm going to visit the Bahamas, not I just happen to see this brand or be exposed to this brand because I was already in the Bahamas through Atlantis or Bahama or the hotel, but I actually came to the Bahamas because of this brand. So when we talk about actors, we know all the time that there are people who now, Rihanna's a singer, so that's in music. But when you hear that people are actors or from these places, these countries, we have people like Rick Fox, people want to now go to the place where they are from, because you become a cultural ambassador when you take your craft and talents to the world. And I'm sure if you're on this call tonight, it's because you have a talent, you have a skill, and you want to be world known. Say yes if you agree in the chat. You have a talent, you have a skill, you have a brand, you have something, and you don't want to just be known in the Bahamas. You want people all over the world to know who you are. All right, that's what I thought. That's who's here. So let's get into a young lady who is from the Bahamas who's able to make that happen. All right, let me read her bio for you. All right. Okay, introducing the captivating Dinetia Dean, a talented actress, singer, writer, and model hailing from the beautiful islands of the Bahamas. Her remarkable journey encompasses a multitude of artistic endeavors, collaborating with renowned brands, national commercials, including Toyota, Motorola, and Old Heineken skincare from her early years. I don't know if I said that right. For her early years, Dinetia has mesmerized audiences through commercials, talent showcases, theater performances, pageants, and ad campaigns. Fearlessly venturing into new territories, she made the bold decision to relocate to the United States, where her unwavering determination, resilience paved the way for collaborations with esteemed filmmakers. Notable projects including working with the George Tillman Jr. on the upcoming Sony film Big George Foreman, the miraculous story of the once and future heavyweight champion of the world, David Frankel on the upcoming NBC TV series The Irrational, and Tyler Perry's Bra, among numerous other significant film and television ventures. Beyond her artistic pursuits, Dinetia embodies the spirit of a global explorer, driven by an unquenchable thirst for adventure, diverse cultures, and the power of storytelling. With infectious zest for life, she's continually pushing the boundaries to experience the exhilaration that life has to offer. As an advocate for health and wellness, as well as an entrepreneur, Dinetia inspires others to embark on an audacious journey of their own. Drawing from her personal encounters, she weaves a tapestry of depth, presence, and a heartfelt fulfillment, both on and off the television screen. Y'all put those claps in the chat. Let's welcome our very own Bahamian Hollywood actress. That's who she is, Dinetia Dean. Welcome out, y'all. D. Oh, they're celebrating you in the chat. It's so good to see you. Dee and I just went to lunch on Sunday.
We sure did.
That's what I love. Like, one of the things that I admire about you, like, I'm not even into the interview yet, guys. I'm about to get in the interview and they're clapping you up. So thank you guys for showing us some love. What I love and what I want to make sure everybody in the chat said, they want to go big time. They want to be on the big screen. But y'all have to be like Dinetia and remain humble. You can't reach on the big Hollywood scene and then the Bahamians come to LA and say, let's do lunch. No, y'all have to be like D and be like, yeah, we can make it work. Let me put some time in my schedule, because D and I just went to lunch on a Sunday. And I thank you for that, because, you know, sometimes people are like, I'm so busy. I'm so Hollywood. I don't have time for my vacation.
Always.
So, thank you. And I often ask this is not a question I had beforehand, but I often ask the persons that I interview, if you remember how we met. And I told the person last week, I didn't want to ask the question because I didn't want to make it about me, but I think how we met is in relation to what we're talking about today. So let me see if you remember.
Oh my goodness, this is way back. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Hey, Bodine. Hello, Mr. Ferguson. Thank you for making this happen. I'm so happy to be here. Now, Corral, put me on the spot. Where did we meet first? It was before It's Complicated, right?
It is, because that's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay. So maybe that was it.
It wasn't, you know what I think I remember, and it's also related, so I can still bring it up. It's also related to our interview. I feel like I was helping a media company out of, I don't know if that's how we met. Maybe I don't remember how we met, but I do remember this. I was helping a media company out of Grand Bahama to shoot a commercial. And at that time, they had a rate, I think the rate was like $100. And you were like, yeah, no, that's below my rate. And I was like, y'all, already in $100. It was like a day shooting. So understandably, like, you had been working, you've been doing.
I must have done like $1 million of those already. I was tired.
This is like, no, that's not my rate.
Expensive.
$100 all day? I don't know. That's what damn freeboard prices. Those are not NASA. But I feel like that was my first. I think that was my first remembrance of you. And I didn't like, the thing is, you had been doing it for a while. You'd done a lot of commercials, local commercials, and things like that. And I think you were just at a point where, if I'm going to take my craft seriously, and I'm the same way as an entrepreneur, like, if I have been doing, especially if it's a company, it's not a friend saying, because I think you guys did It's Complicated for free.
Yeah.
And that was after. But I think when it's a company and it's a brand, like, I've heard people say that too, like influencers, like, if they do something for a friend or something like that, then they'll work it out. It's fine. But when it's a company that has marketing
There's a
dollars,
budget. There's a budget. You have a budget. A respectable one.
use the budget. It's not a friend. So I'm gonna get into the conversation. I know you guys are like probably like, what is it's complicated? And that was kind of a pioneer journey that they did. So before we get into that, I want to know, when did you first know you wanted to perform? Because you didn't start acting, you started performing in general. So when was the beginning of it?
You know what? I feel like I always knew from childhood that I wanted to perform. I started singing. I started singing and songwriting. And that was just, it was a really tough journey to pursue. But it wasn't so long after that that I recognized that acting was something that came natural to me, and that maybe these two can go hand in hand, and I could kind of see which one opens the door for me first. But I've been doing all of it since I was a child, really.
Like, so you would say you were singing from you were like 5 or before that?
I remember writing my first song. I was probably around like 7 or something. Yeah. But then, so somebody in here from Managua, I saw Managua.
Yeah.
So my mommy side of the family is from Managua, and they would host pageants and talent shows and whatnot. And my aunt would choreograph the routines. And so, you know, I grew up dancing and performing in front of small audiences, like on the island and also in Nassau. I was in Yodefi dance and modeling school. So I did that. We would have dance productions. So from very early on.
Nice. So early on, you were building on that acting. And when was the first time you got your first paid gig? How old? Do you remember how old you were the first time you got paid to do acting, whether it was commercial or?
It was as a young adult, yeah, doing commercials. I think my first, actually, I don't remember. Let me not even try to think about it, but it definitely was at home, yeah. And I did, like you said, I did a million commercials at home, and a lot of it was free too for a long time, for companies. So I just wanted to get in front of the camera and get familiar. And at that point too, I knew that I wanted to study film and television production, because I figured at some point I want to transition behind the camera and maybe ultimately still do both. And I still feel that way now. But I went to college and studied film and television production as well as theater as a minor.
Awesome. So how old were you when you first went to say, I'm going to study TV and film?
This was college, so 17.
You were 17. The reason I asked that, and I think I shared this with you, when we were at lunch, I know a lot of, and you can let me know in the chat if it happened to you. There are a lot of people that I know, like they knew at 17, this is what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But there weren't people who were saying, that makes sense. I'm going to pay for you. I'm going to help you. Or even if I don't have the finances to help you, it makes sense. Go on. Let me know if you're in the chat, if you knew at 17, but then you didn't get to go. Because there are a lot of people like, and they had someone say yes for trying to bring it up women, strong women. So at 17, for someone to say yes, go, like that is rare. So even that, like, because the reason why I wanted to do these whole interviews is to kind of help people who are either on the journey or moving through the journey to kind of figure out, how did they figure it out? How did they make the steps? And the first one is knowing at 17 and having the courage to go around 17, 18 to go to school to do it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what was that like? Were they on board, or were you just kind of resilient?
No, so I've been fortunate to have a supportive family that always supported. Like I said, my mom's side of the family, everyone was some version of an entertainer, even if it was just on the island. So they were very supportive. And then my aunt on my dad's side, who's like a second mother to me, I remember I went to her and told her I wanted to do a summer program at New York Film Academy. And she sponsored, the entire summer that I was there for the program. And then I remember my mommy calling some cousin from Jamaica that was living in New York that I had never met. I don't think she spoke to them within the last 10 years. She was like, my daughter, come on, she can stay with you. And I was like, yes, family, come. I was like just wandering around New York, but I've always been fortunate to have, that support. So even when my mommy couldn't afford it, you know, my aunt would pitch in, and then I would do, you know, I would do as much as I can too, like, you know, taking odd jobs here and there, gig work, just to support myself and be able to go over there, and in the US I'm referring to, and seek and take advantage of whatever opportunities there may be. Um, I remember at one point, I didn't even know where I was gonna stay, because I started to go back. Like after I got familiar with the city, other opportunities came. I ended up later down the line getting an internship. And when I would go back, I remember one of my friends that I'd met through the New York Film Academy had put me onto this old Jewish lady who I didn't know, but I told him I needed somewhere to stay. And I remember just messaging her on Facebook and telling her, you know, is there a chance that I could stay with you for like 2 weeks? I'm Rumi's friend. And she welcomed me. I showed up at her house in Manhattan at like 1 a.m. in the morning from my flight, and stayed with this random stranger for 2 weeks. And she ended up becoming a friend of mine and my nana's. I introduced her to my grandmother because they were more in set. And she later on came to visit the Bahamas and, you know, spend time with my nana. So
Wow.
I'm out here doing the most, girl.
Doing two things. Y'all who taking notes about, okay, how do we navigate this journey? So I realized something already that Dee and I have in common. So the first thing is the supportive system. And even if that supportive system isn't your parents, finding some adult that's in your corner that's going to support you. Like you said, sometimes it was your aunt, sometimes it was someone else. So a supportive system, if you guys are taking note. But the second one that I realized that Dee and I have in common is that you don't, like, you're a risk taker and you're bold and you're an asker. There are people who are askers and people who are just thinkers, and you're an asker. Because some people, what they can say, and I can't stay by the random people and they don't know me. And just like I was telling you, like that's how I was in LA this weekend, because I did a New York Film Academy. And for those who are like, it's too late for a 4-year university, I'm not 70 and I'm not like Dee, but I would encourage you to Google New York Film Academy. I did a stint at New York Film Academy as well, or Google New York Film Academy or one of those other programs. And they have short programs that you probably could save up enough and go, because that exposure just opens your mind like nothing else. And for me, same thing. I had a family friend that lived there and I was like, can I live on your couch? For those who don't know, unless you live on the couch in LA, you didn't live in LA. And so I lived on his couch for a few months and I went to the New York Film Academy. But again, I never lived with him. I've never lived with his mom, but you got to ask. The least they can say is no. And so you got to be an asker. Don't be thinking about what you're trying to do. Be an asker. And maybe you can't go to university full 4 years now, or maybe you can, depending on your age, if you're listening to this, but you could do some form of a program. So another thing that you were able to do, because you were Oscar and you out there, you were in college, but you landed an internship at BET.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when I met you? Maybe that's when I met you. By Shanae.
Oh, yes, that's true. Would that have been, that would have been before. So yes.
That was 2011. That's where I met you. Sorry, guys, we're having our own moments. Back in the interview. But I went to visit New York, and she was in New York because she had an internship at BET. So how did you land an internship at BET while in college?
You know what? I just applied. And I remember I'd gotten acceptance from BET as well as Lionsgate. And now I kick myself. I'm like, maybe I should have gone with Lionsgate. But you know, BET, that was like an essential part of our upbringing. You know what I mean? 106 in Park was who I had the internship with. And so music, as I said, was like my main focus then. So I'm like, oh, I'm right at home now. I get to be on the production side of things. I get to see things from a different perspective. And so I ultimately went with BET instead of Lionsgate, which is ironic because now I'm acting and, you know, that's the main focus now. So that may serve me a little bit more. But
go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, but the relationships that I acquired while I was at BET, I still have some of those relationships today, like the people that were mentors to me. I still have them, and you know, we still communicate and we have lunch whenever. A lot of them are still in New York, whenever I'm in the city or they're over here. So, you know, and that has been helpful along the way too, because they've also introduced me to people since I've been in LA. So yeah, it still worked out.
Awesome. And this is your reminder, guys, that your network determines your net worth. Like when you're going to these different opportunities, like we talked about, that you could take advantage of, that it's building up relationships. I love that phrase that Issa Rae says, like everybody wants to network up, but nobody's networking across. And when you network across, that's when you kind of meet the people and form those relationships. So you want to be able to do that. So what was it like journeying from, so you went to BET. I think I met you in New York. That was 2011.
That's a blur.
2011.
Yeah, that's
I think it was 2011.
yeah,
I think it was
that sounds-
2011. And then 2017, you moved to LA. But I want that in between. The reason I want that in between is some people, they're like, and guys, we're going to get to how she got to the US. Because some people are like, great, how did she build this up? She went to BET when she was in school. So that's how come BET came on board. But what was that journey like from 2011 to, I got the internship at BET, to 2017? The real deal. They want the real deal. Tell us in the chat if y'all still with me. Tell me real deal. The real deal of what that journey was like. Because some people just see the glow up and they're like, oh, she in movies. But what was that journey like from 2011 to 2017 before you moved to LA?
Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. So the time that I was in New York, I remember I was hustling and bustling. I was working on the table, girl. I was a bartender on Bleecker Street at some random comedy club. And then I started selling accessories. I would go to the wholesale district and sell accessories, send them back home and whatnot. And then at some point after I was done with college, I never finished, by the way. I had 1 year left. But after I was done with my time in college, I was basically just going back and forth from New York. So I'd be like, the 6 months thing back and forth. And there were a couple of things that happened along that journey. Like, I remember at one point I was thinking, I knew I wanted to come to LA because it was more in alignment with what I knew I wanted to do. Like, I'm a short, petite girl. I wanted to model. New York is more high fashion. Everyone was like, okay, what's the word escaping me? Anyway, my type of modeling is in LA. And then everyone was like, okay, unless your focus is theater, you want to do film and TV, LA is the place. So LA was just screaming my name from the beginning. And I was doing so much to just stay afloat in New York. I said, when I go to LA, I want to have something, some sort of business or something bringing me in some money from home so that I don't have to like be hustling and struggling out here. And then, so I don't remember the years. I tell you, it's all a blur. But at one point, I had started working at Atlantis because I said, okay, well, I'm gonna do this like clothing store thing, and I'm gonna, as I was telling you on Saturday, I was offered free delivery with no car. I started this little business. I said, I'm working at Atlantis for a short time, just the funness to get this up and running so I could carry my hip back to the States. And I ended up staying at Atlantis for probably just like 6-7 months, which was the plan. But then when I tried to come to LA, I got scammed into this program, which I felt targeted international creatives, international actors and actresses. And basically they had this whole spiel about the type of people that would be coming, specific people coming in to train, well-known people. And these people would never come. There would always be some alternative or classes being canceled. It was just a bunch of nonsense. And it was pricey. Like I saved money to go to this place. And I got a visa too, which I learned that I didn't need to drop the name, child. I don't even remember the name. What is it? I have to remember it.
Do your research. Like we call New York Film Academy, they're legit, but like make sure
They're legit. Yes.
Make sure.
Chantel, DM me if you're thinking of a program, and I can sort it out and make sure it's straight before you do it. But I remember having gotten a visa, and then when I stopped showing up to classes, because I started like booking things, like people that would pay cash for smaller projects. I started booking things on my own. I'm like, I can use this time better to go out and secure my own jobs as opposed to coming here and wasting time with this nonsense, And so I stopped going to the classes and I would just be going out on auditions, like around town, on the bus in LA. And then they threatened to cancel my visa. So I was like, I can cancel this myself. Like, I don't even need this visa. So I called an attorney. They was like, yeah, just go home, cancel it. But what they didn't tell me was don't try to come right back. So I tried to go home for like a weekend and come right back. And the immigration officer told me, he said, I'm going to let you in for 10 days to get your stuff, but I will advise you not to try to enter this country within the next year at least. I never cried so hard. I was like, what am I supposed to do here? It was like, I thought it was over, girl. I was so distraught. And then, so I waited the year. And in that time frame, I started another business. I started a business called O Paparazzi Photo Booth. And it was the first open air concept photo booth in Nassau. There was one in Freeport, but in Nassau, I believe I was the first. And yeah, and that I worked and did that for free I showed up at like restaurants, like whatever events, all type of different events. And then I later got a few contracts with what's that restaurant called? They were like popping back then too. Olives, when it used to be, the dance, it turned into the dance afterward. So it started off with olives, and then I got a contract with LPIA to do like holiday events in the airport. And then I got contracts with Scotiabank. Anyway, all of these corporate companies. And of course, I was doing weddings and stuff, working with wedding planners in Atlantis and Sandals. And so that company was able to sustain me. And then at the time when I tried to go back to the US, it was like my bread and butter. So it ultimately worked out in my favor because the clothing business went nowhere. It went nowhere, but this photo booth business sustained me, and I had reliable help that were working with me in terms of contractors that would help manage the booth for the events, and then I had my cousin who was helping me manage it as well. So 2017, when I decided to stay in LA, I actually went to a photo booth expo in Vegas. And my cousin called me, and she used to be in the industry back in the day. She was acting, doing a little bit here and there. And a friend of hers was working closely with Floyd Mayweather. And she was like, hey, I'm going to Floyd Mayweather's birthday party. Do you want to come with me? I was like, yeah. She knew I was in Vegas. So I was like, yeah, let's just skip over there and just, and I'll just come. So I went to the birthday party, and I just remember being in that room and rubbing shoulders with all of these artists that we know, producers and writers and talent, and just thinking, these people ain't no different than me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt so inspired there. It was like I can plan and plan and plan to make this move, or I can just move right now. And so I shipped all of the stuff back home that I had just gotten from the Photo Booth Expo, and I stayed in LA. I didn't go back home to visit until another year and a half. And in that year and a half, I just committed myself to classes, and I had the income coming in from home because I had all these contracts. So it gave me a little bit of runway. But yeah, from there, I found, top acting classes, and I just went to 1, 2, 3 of them. Started building up my network and started, my training.
Okay, I was just gonna say, so we're gonna pause because there's a couple things I want them to learn out of that journey. So one, the journey isn't linear. That's one of the things that I want you guys to know. The journey isn't linear. Two, there are realistic things that you have to face. Some of you are on and you're like, I'm in the Bahamas. I want a global brand. I want to be able to be in the LA and network. So how do I do that? You don't want to do the 6 months. 6 months is going to catch up with you because, as you said, they looked at the 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, taking a break off and going, and it wasn't finalized. And so therefore they were like, take a year off. Again, it's not the end of the world, because one of the things I love that you said was I had to take that year off, or take that year of not coming, but you wouldn't have had the money to live in LA, to sustain yourself, to be able to make the connections, to do what you needed to do in order to legitimately stay in LA permanently, because you needed the money. So you can't just go there on a whim and don't have it, but you had to be pushed into that situation where it's like, no, stay home and make some form of living. I love that you pivoted too. You said you were doing accessories at one point, you were doing clothing at one point, but they weren't moving. And the minute the accessories weren't moving, you dropped it. The minute the clothing wasn't moving, you dropped it. What's gonna move? The photo booth moving, nobody else doing it. Okay, let me do the photo booth. It helped you to sustain and make money. And you were even at the point where you were investing in building it to being better than it was before. And so I love that, because that's from 2011 to a good bit that was back and forth. And then there was a year and a half of having to just stay still. So some of you may be in a season of just stay still. Some of you may be in a season where I'm going to go and do a program and you're going to make sure it's legit. Or some of you may be in the program, maybe in the season where you saved up. You've had the savings, you want to go over there, and now you're able to, enter into some kind of course where it's going to be legit. One of the things I want you to talk to about is, how were you able to begin to legally work? Because that's a question a lot of people, and not only your journey, because there's several other people who have different avenues of their journey. I talked to you a little bit about my journey of how I was trying to get the O visa. There is a visa that you could apply for. But let me let Dee answer, and then I'll fill in about what my journey was like and some other people. But share, because I know you have some friends too who did it in some ways as well.
Yeah. So basically, I was able to get mine through family, but I do have a number of friends who were able to get theirs through the O visa, like you said. It's very intense, but one of the things that we talked about too is being from a place like we're from, like, it's easier to get in the newspapers and to get, some sort of publication, which helps significantly when you're applying. Like, so I went the family route because I happen to have, my grandmother happened to have citizenship. And so, but the visa is a very viable way, but it could be a little bit more difficult. You and I, we were even talking about, one of the things that you're wanting to do in terms of being, having some sort of agency, whereas, with people from London, for example, their agents up with them for work care and whatnot. And so that would be really great if we could see that come to fruition. I think that's an awesome venture to take on. But yeah, it is, I'm not going to front, it is a hurdle, like, because even with that, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way. So if you're sitting here, like, how do people figure it out? How do people end up going? As Dinetia said, sometimes people have a family member. It tends to take a little longer depending on the family members. I want to keep that in mind, because the path Dinetia had to go through with the family member, sometimes you miss things. And I know friends who had the same thing, like, because when you're going through that process, if someone is applying for you, and whether it's a spouse, a family member, or a thing, I know someone who had a sibling, it's a long time and you can't move once you're on one side. So I had a close friend who did the visa process through a family member, and they missed a lot. And you shared that you missed a lot too, because it's just, that's one of the sacrifices that you guys have to, go through or deal with. The O visa is another thing. Like you said, one of your friends actually was successful. So if you're like, would I be successful in applying for an O visa? If you know you have done a lot of things locally, I think, Chantel, you can let me know if you're still on the call. You may be an amazing candidate for an O visa because of all of the clippings of things that you have done. So if you still have all of those different things that you have put together, once you could put them together in the portfolio, newspaper clippings, links to interviews on the news, you've been on an international stage, top 10, if you can be able to put up, and it only needs to be in your country, you need to be known as in your country as somebody who is the top in whatever industry or field it is that you're trying to do. And once you can prove that, you can do the O visa. So I went through the O visa process for a writer, but it was very early in my career. I'd only written one book that was self-published, and I had a play. And at first they told me it was enough. And so you make sure you want to talk to the people that you actually go into that conversation with. I see Chantel saying something in the chat. What she's saying? I thought about O visa, spoke to a lawyer who said that maybe a lot more in the acting realm. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, just still, but no, didn't your friend, isn't Shanae on did she get an O? Well, she's not here, but did she get an O?
Yes, Shanae's on the O visa.
She's on an O visa for modeling. So I'm just look into it and talk to several people, because I don't think the mine went really well. My experience went really well. I put $3,000 down. At the end of the day, they told me my resume wasn't, beefed up enough, but it went back to go home and get some work done. And so I don't want you guys to shy away from building up your brand locally. One, because you're legal,
Correct.
you're legit. Nisha told you about that 6 months, 6 months. That's why she went ahead and got legal. So one, you're legit when you're home. You're building up that portfolio. You have it, whether you apply for the O visa or if you don't, because Dinetia started to allude to, we are doing the Star Film Institute. And the whole purpose of that is to be able to help writers, producers, actors to go through a program. And hopefully we get to take that information and introduce you to industry professionals. That's the goal. So we have been in contact with different people that we know, and hopefully, because it's just one person needs to make it. Like, we're just like, but at the end of the day, I want to be able for us to build an industry over here where you don't have to be in the US for you to be discovered. Because I talk about, and Dinetia knows some people that are on All American Homecoming, but I was telling her about All American. The actor who's the lead on All American, he was chosen for All American in London. He sent in a videotape audition. Then he got a second interview and another one. And then he ended up, for the last 5 years, the star of an American show, because his agency introduced that to him. And so that is what I'm trying for us to build up, because everybody doesn't have the resume to build up a no visa. Everyone doesn't have a family member, but what you do at home to build up that resume while you're here, hopefully, as we continue to network across and we continue to use our networks to help everyone, because I don't believe in just making networks and connections that are just about, okay, how can Corel get ahead? How can all of us get ahead? Because maybe I don't even have what they want, but maybe someone we help and develop has something they want, and then you've opened the door for all of us. And so I wanted to strongly encourage you, like I said, Star Film Institute, we're going through the process of dealing with the people that are making it to the finals now. And then, heads up, send me an email at corelpin@gmail.com if you're in Nassau. We're going to do an industry mixer on Sunday, and I have to send this email out tomorrow. But if that's for people who want to be actors, or you're in the industry and you just want to work on one of the projects that we make the final decisions on Sunday, if you want to be in one of those projects, we're going to have an industry mixer at 6 on Sunday. So just email me at corelpin@gmail.com. Tisha, drop that in the chat. Go ahead. You were about to say something, Dinetia, I think so. Were you about to say something? You were good? Okay. We have some people who were, yes, I know what you're about to say, because I was going to say, talk about how did you meet some of the people? Yes, we are going to do something in Freeport, because some of the people that are made it to the semifinals are from Grand Bahama. So we do have to do a mixer in Grand Bahama. I think we do have to do something in Grand Bahama, Sherelle. But I was asking, one, you talked a little bit about getting into acting. So how important that was, and then how did that build up your network? Because you know some people on different things. That was my question.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I remember one of the first classes that I went to. There was this other black chick. It was more like it was more like a white training program in terms of like the instructors and all of that. But they had worked with everybody from Angelina Jolie to Will Smith, like the whole 9 yards. And this black chick who was in there, she was like, she told me about this other class she was taking. She's like, girl, you need to come over here too. She's like, I'm doing both. Like, and this one was more like, because the black woman running this. So, she kind of like had more of like a family type vibe. And then not to mention that she was spot on in terms of just, it was more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it just felt more at home, and it was more of a family atmosphere. So I went there and it became my family. And so, I mean, I did other acting programs as well before and after, but essentially that is my home in terms of, my acting school. But it was there. And generally speaking, I think for the most part, for me at least, I can speak for myself, you meet a lot of the people that you work with either on auditions or in class. And because we've been in this era of self-tape, especially, after the pandemic, there aren't many in-person auditions. So before, you would go in and then you would kind of just always see the same person, you know, because you're getting called in for the same type of roles because you have the same look. So, you know, a friend of mine, she and I, we worked on a student film together, and then we saw each other at several commercial auditions and TV auditions afterward. Ayana, she just was she was the lead in the movie Beast with what's his name? Why am I'm having like a brain fart moment?
Is that Idris? Idris?
Idris, yeah. But she was the lead in that. But you know, that's just an idea. Like you would meet someone on set, or just always see them out at auditions. So then you become friendly. A lot of the people that I've met that are now friends of mine, I've met through acting classes, and it's really interesting to watch everybody grow. Like I have, you know, I know people that are on rap shit. You know, Issa Rae's show, as you mentioned, All American. You know, it's just all of these different shows and movies. You begin to see people that you do lines with in class, like, oh crap, you know, they got booked, she got booked, and it's so exciting because you feel like if they can do it, I can do it too. You know what I mean? And you feel inspired because we're all on the same journey together. And as you said, it kind of like corresponds with networking across as opposed to upward. And so a friend of mine who I worked on Bra with, Tyler Perry's show with, he's like, I'm working on
Recording
this
in
project.
progress.
He's like, I'm working on this project, and you know, I'd love for you to be a part of it. And of course, I'm like, sure, count me in. I'm there. So again, on set is where you meet, you know, most of your other actor friends, and a lot of people are multi-hyphenate. So a lot of people aren't just actors or actresses, they are producers, they're writers, they're creators and creatives of all kinds. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind when you go to classes, and it's a great opportunity to meet and network with people and really nurture those relationships.
That is awesome. So I have two more questions for you. What was it like? Well, maybe three. And then you guys get your questions ready if you have questions for Dinetia. What was it like on the auditioning for Tyler Perry's show? I want you
Oh
to
my
share
goodness.
that experience.
Yeah. It was great. It was great, but it was also like a little intimidating. So I had auditioned for the lead role a couple times, one of the lead love interests of one of the guys of the show. And then at one point, so I would go in, and I had like maybe 2 or 3 different producer sessions to go in and audition with the producers. And so I'd gotten used to seeing, you know, the same producers at the table. And then at one time they called me in, and Tyler Perry was there, and I wasn't expected to see him. So I remember walking in the room and just going, because he really threw me off my game. And then so the casting director was the one who was reading the lines with me. And I just remember like thinking, like just getting out of my head, you know what I mean? I'm getting into my head rather, and thinking that, oh my God, Tyler Perry is right there. And I messed up my lines. I messed up my lines in the middle of the audition. And the casting director, she was so lovely. She just read it back to me as if, she just made it natural, and I made it natural. So everyone knew that I'd messed up because they know the script. But the way in which we read it, it was just like, it was almost like it was supposed to happen that way. I caught it. But yeah, that part was a little intimidating. I didn't get that role, but they did offer me another role. And so that's how I got on the show.
And that's what I would like people to realize, that there are sometimes, and I've been in the industry for a long time, especially coming up as a playwright. And so I think sometimes when you don't get the part, or don't get the role, or you don't get the gig or the opportunity or chosen, sometimes you could beat yourself up and feel like, well, why wasn't I chosen? Or, but for me, I found that the reason I have stepping stones to doing what I do in the industry is because I kept going, because you still had a great attitude. I think I want people to know, even how you reply when you get a rejection, people watch that. Because you said you were auditioning for the lead. You came back several times for the lead, but then you had to hear that I wasn't chosen for the lead. So your demeanor and everything of how you deal with rejection, that's how people know how to respond to you. Like, I'm a writer currently. I think I told you this. I'm a writer on a Bahamian TV show. And I wanted to do more on the TV show. I wanted to be one of the directors. I wanted to produce. I wanted to travel because I only wrote online during COVID. And I was like, I want to travel and do something with them. But they turned me down. They were like, no, we only know you as a writer. So we're not going to bring you on as a producer. We're not going to bring you on as a director. No, thank you. And so what that no did is it drove me to decide to do Easy Love. Because I'm like, what I'm realizing is for me to prove my worth, sometimes you get a chance, sometimes you get an offer. But sometimes you have to go, like how you said, you did student films, and you even told me that doing It's Complicated helped you with your reel to get out there. So sometimes it's going out there and doing the thing that you, and so, and that's kind of like your proof, that's your calling card, because sometimes people aren't going to give you the opportunity.
And let me tell you, I have another story. I forget, I'm sorry, my memory is like shit right now, but someone brought like a group of casting directors and producers home in the Bahamas at one time. And I don't know why, but I only learned about it the day that it was happening. I remember walking into one of those hotels on Cable Beach and realizing, must have been like Malia or something, and realizing that this whole thing was going on. Like, there are casting directors and producers here, and I don't know about this. Like, how is that? So I walked in and they were like, oh, you know, anyone can audition. And they had like the time frames and everything like that. And I looked at the schedule, and there was a slot. I was living on Cable Beach, and I wasn't dressed or anything. So I looked at the time, and there was this time frame for commercial, to do like a commercial in front of these casting directors that were from LA and New York. And so I said, well, this ain't enough time for me to memorize it, but I'm going to try. I went home to my place, and I changed and I got ready, and I'm trying to memorize the lines and everything. I came back, made it on stage just in time. And when I tell you, Carell, I got on the stage and I swear I had it blank. Nothing. I couldn't remember. Remember not one line. I mean, cameras on me and everything. And I was like, I can't believe that. And I walked off the stage feeling so defeated. And I was like, I cannot believe I forgot every single line. Granted, like I was really pushing it because it was like, I got a dash on. It was like a quick, like 20 minutes type situation. But I refused to let them people walk away, not knowing that I could do it. And so what I did is I called my friend, Tony Williams. He showed up, and I was like, Tony, can you help me like shoot this? And we shot it on tape, and he even did a little cute edit and everything like that. And I posted that on my Instagram. I said, just in case anybody looks, I could do this. And that's still on my reel too.
Look, and that's what I call resilience. That's what I call resilience. And so tell us a little bit about how you got involved in It's Complicated, because we've been talking about it since it started. And that's kind of one of the things that got you started in TV. So tell us about that experience.
Yeah, I remember. So I didn't know Tap personally. We had a mutual friend who had introduced us. And I remember meeting with Tap at Dunkin' Donuts across from the Hilton downtown. And she was like, I'm working on this thing, and, you know, I need this character, and can you read this line for me? And I remember reading a couple lines. She was like, okay, great. And then she was like, I want to work with you. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. And then I remember shooting that. It was so much fun. I keep saying, I don't know, we should have kept that going, man. That was really awesome.
Yeah, so essentially I was a part of the program. So I wasn't a writer on that program. Tap had written it, but she knew that I had done plays, and my plays always have montages. So people knew that I wanted to get into TV and film. So I don't know if I would call myself a producer, but kind of was on the set just to kind of hold things together, because she was the writer and producer, but she was also the main character. So she kind of needed someone on set to kind of, you know, pull things together. And it was a great experience for me, because I think it was one of my first TV experiences. So even though I didn't serve as a writer, just being in the room. And so that's why I encourage you guys, if you're here, to come to the Industry Mixer. Anytime you hear of something, because that's essentially what we're doing now. We're helping to help people build these TV pilots. So whether you're an actress and you get to be in a TV pilot, or to be on the theater side on stage, or if you just, like I said, with Tap, I was just in the room kind of assisting. I wasn't a writer. I wasn't necessarily one of her producers, but I wasn't working at the time. So I had a lot of free time, and I just went to all of the shooting of it, and you learn a lot through osmosis. So I want to encourage you guys to know that. So I said 2 questions earlier. So these are the last 2. So the last one is the George Foreman movie. That's the biggest thing you've been on. So how did you land a movie? It's like it's a movie. like a big movie, red carpet and everything premiere. So you had lines. So how did you land George Foreman? Tell us about that big George Foreman experience. And then I'll wrap up with my final question. If y'all have questions, go in the chat. So how did you land a movie, a Hollywood movie?
Yeah, so I auditioned for it. I got the audition. I put myself on tape, sent it in. And I remember they said that they needed someone local because they were shooting in New Orleans. And I said I was local. I'd never even been to New Orleans. I couldn't tell you what New Orleans looks, smell, tastes like, nothing. So, and then I got the call back and had the session with the director session and everything like that. And then when I learned that I booked it, I actually flew myself to New Orleans because I couldn't tell them that I wasn't local. That's why, that was the main thing that they asked for. So I paid for my own flight there, and I paid for my own Airbnb. And then when we shot the scenes and everything like that, I was supposed to, I had my travel plans to go right back to LA, and then it got rained out. One of the evenings got rained out, and we had to like reshoot. But I told them I just moved to LA, so and luckily, like they didn't eliminate my part entirely, so it was essential enough for them to keep. So I'm very happy that it all worked out. But again, another risk, but it was well worth it.
And you weren't afraid to invest in yourself. And because sometimes people be like, well, I need everything laid out for me if I'm going to do this particular thing. But sometimes if you're going to, when we did Easy Love, we did it for free. And I remember like the countless hours I was spending on that project. And my dad was like, why are you doing all of this? Because it's an investment. It's an investment into where I'm going to go. So you were like, I'm going to pay for the hotel. I'm going to pay for the flight. I'm going to go there. But then you were able to have the conversation with them so that they were able to bring you back. And then what was the red carpet experience like?
Oh my goodness. That was certainly one of the most memorable experiences I've had. Like, I kept thinking, I just hope I don't fall on these people's carpet. But it was a little chaotic. And, I didn't know what to expect. You go in and then you're waiting in line, and then you have a representative, a person in place that has your name on a board, and they're making sure they're spelling it correctly. And I had someone who was really, really chill and very cool. And so we were just laughing and giggling the whole time. And then of course, it came time for them to take pictures and whatnot and move along. So that part was smooth sailing. I would say the anticipation of it was a little bit nerve wracking. And I just was thinking, please don't let, your knees start to get wobbly all of a sudden.
I don't want to fall. I don't want to fall.
Stop me. And then as you walk through, it's just like any other movie experience, you have your complimentary popcorn and your water. I said I'd do a little quick reel about this. It's been a month and something now. I still haven't done it. But anyway, you get your popcorn and your water, you sit down in the seat. And it was surreal, to see myself on screen. I just was like, I can't believe it. Like I could believe it because I know the shit I went through. Sorry, excuse my French. I know what I went through to get to this point, like, big picture and all, but it's just like to see it was just like, oh wow, like this is really happening. And again, to see my name in the credits and the director, when he got up on stage, he thanked all of the talent and crew, and my name was called, and it was like, oh my goodness, like it really made me feel like this is a huge accomplishment, and I'm going to celebrate it like as much as I can, because as I said to you, I battle with that before. I'd be like, okay, well, that's just a stepping stone. What next? And now I'm learning to bask in every single accomplishment, no matter how big or how small it is, because truly to get any sort of movement upward is a battle, And so, it was a really, really awesome experience. I got to meet Mr. Foreman himself, and and then his daughter came up to me afterwards, and we had a brief conversation, and it was really like a moment to savor.
I love it. You have people in the chat saying dreams do come true. Chantel said, Dinetia, you filled me up tonight. I'm very proud of you, because it is. And I told Dinetia on Sunday, I said, Dinetia, you're one of the first. So it's like you're going through the bush and you're like kind of paving the way. You gotta pave the way so the rest of us can come, so the rest of the actors can come behind you. And I'm trying to actors. We're trying to build the industry here. Someone mentioned on the chat earlier that the Honorable Chester Cooper had a meeting with Netflix, and Dinetia and I talked about that too. We're hoping that we could be a part of the change that makes that happen. But I think you have to have a moving train going. And so that's why even with the funding, because there was, a big amount of funding that we wanted for this project that we're doing at Star Film Institute, and we don't have it. But I said, we're going to do it. Whether I get zero funding or the funding that we wanted to do, we're going to do it, and it's going to come through, and we're going to figure it out. Because when you are the change agent, when you're the person leading something that's never been done before, you're going to get scratched a little bit. You're going to get bruised a little bit. But the point is, we have too many talented people in this country not to be having shows on Netflix and Hulu. I'm sorry. There's no reason why there are other people who are not sitting in this chat or been a part of these things that they don't, their words, their work, their faces don't belong on the screen. There's no way. There's no way. We have talented people. So my final question is, to the people that are on here, what words of encouragement would you give them if you could have gone back and done something differently? What just words of advice would you give someone who's like, I want to act, I want to be in a movie, a Hollywood movie where I'm running the red carpet, or on a TV show for Tyler Perry, and just even get the chance to audition, even if I don't get booked. Like I was auditioning for Tyler Perry while he was in the room. Like people who want that experience. What is your advice? Anything that you would have done differently? Something you'd want to share?
I don't know if there's anything that I would have done differently other than starting sooner. If that was possible. Start now. You could plan as much as you want, but we've heard that time and time again. There's no perfect time to start. And for me, if there was anything else that I would have changed, it would have been get here sooner, or do whatever it is sooner, right? Maybe for a long time I was so focused on just music and just writing. So maybe I would have expanded my reach a little sooner. And I would say that rejection is a part of this thing. Like, for hundreds of no's that I get, is going to be one yes. And that's why it's important to savor those moments when you do get it. But you have to have some thick skin, because you're going to hear no. And sometimes you're not going to hear anything at all, because that's just the name of the game. Like, when I get like a producer session or a director session, and that's when you've gotten through the callbacks, and now you're like up here and you're up for a chemistry read with the next lead. Even when you get there, it's like, oh, and they want to pin you, meaning that, can you please hold your availability? And you're like, oh, this is it, this is going to happen. I'm sorry, you've been released. What? And no explanation. And it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with your talents or your work ethic. It could be something as simple as, me and you talked about this the other day. A recast might happen, and you might not have the look to be next to the other co-lead. Something completely out of your out of your scope. And so you really have to have thick skin. Be sure about who you are and your talent. Hone that talent. Classes. I still do one-on-ones for auditions. Classes have slowed down, but I'm about to get back into it because they just started doing it again since the pandemic. But I've done one-on-one self-tapes for every audition that I've had. And I know that it is possible. It is possible. I'm telling y'all, like, when I sat down in that theater and saw myself on that screen, like, I'm no different from anybody else on this call. Like, we all come from the same place, probably had like a bunch of the same experiences. You can make your dream come true. And I know that sounds like so cliche, but that's just the reality of it. Like, if you're willing to work hard and figure it out, like Corel and I spoke about. I slept on strangers' couches with people I never met. I arrived in their house at like 1. I mean, don't put yourself in danger.
Yeah, me and D do some scary things. I wouldn't say do all the scary things, me Stu. I just did a scary thing this morning. Just don't do them stuff, but be bold.
But be bold. Yes, that's it. Be bold. So that would be my advice.
Awesome, awesome. Terranique said a yes is coming. Yes, a yes is coming. And that's, you just got to
Yeah.
keep putting yourself out there. I'll say, so Petra, so
Mhm.
you can start putting your questions in the chat. I don't have any questions, but I just want to say how proud I am of my friend Dinetia. Continue to soar and knock them dead. Praying for more of everything positive. Love you, honey. Oh, that's Petra. Oh, before you do the questions, I want you to say your takeaway, because I like to give my guests love while we're there. We're gonna, Sherelle, I see the question. We're gonna come back to it. But your biggest takeaway, the thing that you heard tonight, you're like, oh, that was for me right there. When she said that, that was for me. That was for me. Okay. And then we're going to get to, I'll let you think on it, on Denisha, while we have them coming in. But our question is, how do you choose your monologues to create reels? So give us a second. She's going to answer that in a few. I just want you to write in the chat, what was your thing that was like, ooh, that was for me. I came for it. Well, you know, all of it, just hearing we had on Sunday. And from when I left, for me, it's not necessarily a takeaway. It was when we had that conversation on Sunday and we continue today, it made me, like I said, it's rough. This Star Film thing that we're doing, we don't have the kind of funding that I thought we were going to have. And seeing you reaffirmed, I don't care how much you get, girl, how much you have to beg, how much you got to barter, what rooms you got to get these people in. But there are people who need to have this opportunity. They need to have this opportunity. They need to have this way to build their resume, whether they're an actor, a writer, learning producer, director, trying to get in the industry, because there's too much talent out there. And when I heard your story and learned about your tenacity and your resilience, it just made me want to give so many other Bahamian women who look and have dreams just like you, whatever small part I could play in it. And so I just want to say thanks for, being willing to share your story and your resilience and celebrating it. Celebrate as you go. Celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay, so takeaway. Start now. You can plan as much as you want, but there's no perfect time to start. Takeaway, don't be afraid to take risks. Yeah, child, we feel there. Brooke Green said, be bold. Way to go, Dee Dee. I'm super proud of you. That's Brooke Green. Vashti Johnson said, oh, that's a question. How do you motivate yourself and what keeps your mind moving? So think about that. We're going to come back to that. LaChantel said, takeaway, make it happen. Flying into New Orleans to make sure you got the opportunities. A power move. Power move, I local. That's a power move, girl. Yeah. You think, okay, I can come back to your question, Juliet. I was blown away by Denicia's resilience. I was nervous when she forgot her lines, but she still showed up with the reel and didn't let it discourage her. That's right. Follow your dreams. It's never too late. It's never too late. That was Kevin Williams. It's true. Okay, so I'm going back to the first question that I saw in the chat. That was from Sherelle. And she said, how do you choose your monologues to create reels?
How do I choose my monologues? I would just find stuff that speaks to me, whether that's through reading scripts or if you watch something. I started watching older films recently, and that's been pretty good. I just recently put myself on tape for Julia Roberts and Aaron Brockovich. I don't know if y'all have seen that,
Yeah.
but you just find monologues that can show range, that like, okay, I can connect with this, that may be a little bit more natural and organic for you, and just create.
So it's not really about what's popular or what's known, but more so characters you connect with, so it comes off natural and authentic.
Even better when it's not popular or known, because casting directors have seen it so many times. If you can find something that's maybe not as new or not as popular, then it's like, oh, maybe they'll be, oh, I remember that, or oh, I haven't seen that before, or they have nothing to compare it to. So it's like just seeing all of you.
Awesome. How do you motivate yourself? What keeps your thread mill moving? That is from Vashti Johnson.
Hey, Vashti. That's a good question. What motivates me? Honestly, girl, I don't know. I feel like it's just this innate desire that I have to be successful in this. Like, I don't necessarily have to pump myself up or anything like that. Every day I get up and I'm working on something to further my dream in this career every single day. Like, whether that's reaching out to people, DMing them, connecting with them, shooting with them, asking, what projects do you have working on? I feel like, when it's a burning desire, I don't know, it's just something that you just do. Does that make sense?
It's kind of in you. It's innate in you. So this
Yeah.
person said, this is Juliet Butler. She said, what do you think was your most valuable networking experience and what impact did it make on your overall success?
My most valuable networking experience has probably just been the introduction to my acting coach, who's my mentor and who is a friend, who is, someone I can call on for acting or not acting things. That's been the most precious connection for me, because when you can find people who see what you see in yourself, and sometimes they may even remind you, like, you're so caught up in the, like, in the middle of it, like trying to figure everything out, and then you have somebody saying up here, you should be working actors, you should be working right now. It reminds you to kind of like look up and, like, you know what I mean, and it feeds you, it nourishes you. And so yeah, my acting coach, she's a gem. She's someone that I hold near and dear to my heart, and through her I've met so many other wonderful people. So
yes, because I think you were telling me your manager, just different connections and network opportunities, but then she poured into you too. And one of the things I loved about what you were saying about your acting coach that you were telling me is that even before she introduced you to the people in the industry and different networking things that you got the opportunity to work and stuff, was the fact that you paid for the acting class and then you genuinely developed a relationship with her to a point where you guys genuinely have a relationship and rapport. And I once heard someone in the industry say that they don't like when someone walks up to them at an event and asks them to put them on, because that's like you going to a bank and asking for money and you didn't invest anything in it. Right. You want to make a withdrawal and you never made a deposit. But because I paid for the acting class, after I paid for the acting class, I nurtured the relationship. So I poured into the relationship. So there were several deposits. So it didn't even feel like necessarily a withdrawal when she either introduced you in the industry or anything like that, because you had made several deposits into that dynamic, starting with paying her as your acting coach. So I love that about your story, because you were saying, you guys built that up long before any of the connections or networking came with it. So great. Someone's okay. Question. I recently got accepted into a 10-month master's program in New York. Yay, Tish. We're gonna make her. That's my assistant. What tips do you have for making the most of my time in NYC? Yeah, because you spent a good time in New York.
Yeah, this was some years ago now. But I would say, if you can go out to, apart from your program, if you can go out and watch as many theater productions as you can, find a way to get tapped into the creative community there, because New York is so rich with that. Link up with Bahamians. One thing about us, when we spread out and we find other people, is like family, you know what I mean? So find the Bahamians in New York, and they will walk you through the ropes. Get connected with any the creative community there, and even if you can be even if there's I know a part of your program you'll be working anyway, but if you can finesse your way on some sets as a PA or anything like that, that would be super helpful. That's what I would do.
Awesome. Okay, so the takeaway. It is possible. You didn't let the immigration scare cancel your passion, nor did you allow your financial part of it to stop you from moving forward. Your story reminded me of Lupita when she said she received her award, your dreams are valid. Oh,
yeah.
Tips on getting an agent or representation.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I have representation for commercial, and I'm switching over management right now. So I still don't have theatrical representation. And that's part of what I'm doing every day. So earlier today, I was going through emails. I got some emails from managers, I guess, who had seen me in the film and, are interested in managing. And so I'm setting up meetings for that. But yeah, representation is something that I think it's, you know, a timely thing too, right time, right place. Right now we're in the writer's strike, so it's a little slow now, but theatrical representation usually comes um, with referrals. And so through my personal network, I've set up a few meetings through that. But then you also want to make sure that you don't just choose any agent. I mean, I guess it also depends on where you are at in your career. Sometimes you may just have to have, you know, someone to start you off and until you build up a couple credits on your resume and whatnot. But at a certain point, you want to be sure for your agency and for your management that it is a fruitful relationship, that it will be a fruitful relationship. I know big agencies may have so many uh, candidates on their roster, whereas a boutique agency may not be as well known, but they will focus a lot more on you and help nurture your path almost as a manager would, right? Because that manager relationship is more of a one-on-one thing, whereas the agency relationship is like, okay, you're one in hundreds, you're one in hundreds. So you kind of have to take it for where you're at in your career. If you're just starting out and you just need someone to help get you out until you get some credits and you don't mind being on, you know, you kind of navigate it that way. But quick Google search, you can find, you know, best agencies that way, because there are a lot of scammers out here too. Like if you have to pay anybody to represent you, turn away immediately. That is a scam. Um, Agents get paid when you get paid, the same way as managers. Everyone gets paid after you get paid. They get a percentage of what you get paid. So um, start there. Google.
Awesome. Awesome. How do you approach character development? Are there any specific techniques or methods you find helpful in understanding and portraying a character?
Yeah. So character development is something that I try not to overdo it because I feel like for me, I could spend hours and hours. When I get a script, you know, it may just be a page and it may just be a couple of lines or 3 pages and, you know, a couple of lines or whatever. But for me, I try to build up a whole life story of this character. So the scene may just be like, you know, she walks into the living room and, you know, she picks up the newspaper and she gets bad news or whatever. But she had a whole life before that. So where is she coming from? Um, you know, what just happened the moment before? What's her upbringing? You know, does she have children? Is she married? Did she go to school? Like what is her whole backstory? And the more and more you sink your teeth into this character, the more and more you can bring that into life. And so that's something that I do when I'm working on character development. And as I said, depending on how much time I have too, like sometimes we get these auditions like the day before and they want it within a few hours, you know, and you don't have the time to do that because apart from character development, if it's an ongoing TV series or something that's on air now, another part of your research may be looking up the style of the show, you know, so that you, when you show up on camera, you're dressed for the tone of the show, you know. If the show is like, you know, dark and airy, you don't want to go in there all bubbly with like a yellow shirt on and, you know, hair up like this. You want to match that tone so they can easily fit you into that role because these people lack imagination, you know. So, you know, there's lots of things that go into the research, even researching the director and everybody who's involved. When you get the script, you want to break it down. Okay, what have they worked on? What's their style? What's this writer style like? Is this an audition where I have to say everything line for line verbatim? Because some writers I've heard, you know, don't like when actors go, you know, and start, you know, just improving basically. But then some don't mind, like, you know, Tyler Perry doesn't mind if you improv. The more the merrier, you know. But Shonda Rhimes may be like, nope, that's how I wrote it, that's how I want it. So doing all of your research outside character development as well takes time. So it all depends on, you know, what you have to work with and how much you can devoted. If it's, something you can watch a little bit of to see, if it's already on air and whatnot. But yeah, that's what that's what I do. I take time to break down every aspect of who this character is, from their upbringing, from their childhood, up to moment before.
Awesome. So choosing acting workshops, and almost 8:30. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly.
Okay.
Denisha's been doing a great job, but I do want to answer all, because I know sometimes people are like,
Okay, I'll
Corella,
keep it brief.
Corella, I got a question. Choosing acting workshops, what red flag should I look to avoid the scammers?
So with acting workshops are a little different because you do tend to pay for those. Like I did acting workshops as well, and I found a great acting coach when I did one of those. You just want to do your research. We have social media, so you can see how long they've been around, see what connections, like if they're tagging, like if they said, this casting director will be there, this producer will be there. Just doing your research to make sure these people check out and this checks out, and to see how long they've been established, and go through the reviews, and sometimes they have those people tied to who write the reviews going on their pages and whatnot. That would be the easiest way. But as I said, workshops you do pay for. It's just when you're looking for representation, that's what you don't want to do.
And I think they're thinking about too that you did that course that had a scammer. What were some things when you look back that's like even before
That's what it was called. It was called TVI Actor Studio.
TVI Actor Studio?
Yeah. Yes. What were some of the things? So, say that again, Pharrell. What?
Some of the things that if you looked back, like, that was kind of janky, or I wasn't quite sure about that. See, with the New York Film Academy, I chose the New York Film Academy because it was established. It was known. It was in Burbank. I had known, if I didn't know people who went there, the website, like you saw the commercials, like it was too all over the place to think that, this is a scam. But I think sometimes when you go to a non-known name place, it gets kind of tricky.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. Campbell said, keep going, make yourself brandable, or make sure you can be seen even if the opportunity passes by. Good. Chantel, I have books of plays for monologues, can find on Amazon. Oh, I have books of plays for monologues, you guys. Juliet said, I love this. I just love it. Vashi said, take away, be bold, don't give up, have a thick skin. Have thick skin, guys. Letitia said, thank you for the advice, Denisha. Juliet said, just a beautiful story and a relentless spirit. Sherelle said, y'all, this is a masterclass and I am so grateful. Oh, we were done with the questions. We're so grateful for you guys. We want to, like I tell you, we are here every week. Next week, we will be talking to Courtney. She's a professional dancer. I think Alvin Ailey, she dances. She's a Bahamian. So we'll be talking to her. So if you're a dancer, or you know any dancers, or you're just enjoying hearing these stories about Bahamians who are internationally doing all of these great things, and how did they get there? Because they grew up in the Bahamas. It's not like, oh, my cousin or my mommy, or, like, no, I grew up here. I went to school here. What school did you go to?
Me?
Yeah.
I went to Princeville from 7 to 9 and QC from 10 to 12.
Okay. Princeville, QC, y'all know these schools, and she went there. So any final words, Denisha, before we close out this session? Don't forget to be on next week, 7 o'clock. Go ahead, Denisha.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys all for showing up. This was such a treat, Corral. Thank you for inviting me here. This was so lovely. If anyone has questions, feel free to DM me. I'm on Instagram. Happy to help, guide in whichever way I can. And of course, Corral, I already told you that too. Anything I could do to help, I'm here.
Yes. And would you be open, like when directors or producers, if they shot something here and they were interested in, and you coming home and being in a part of things? Because like I told you, there are things that I think you could be working on. So we'll make sure your names are plugged.
I would love to. Yes, please keep me in mind.
Awesome. Someone said, y'all are paving the way. We love to see it. Awesome. So awesome. I'm so glad you enjoyed this presentation. So be here next week. Tell them your social media handle so they can, she does reply, guys. She does reply.
You do. It's my name. It's at Dinetia Dean, and Dinetia is spelled like Scotia. So it's Dinetia Dean.
Oh, and I forgot the treat. So I'm going to have to give away two, because Sherelle just reminded me that there are people that are from Nassau. And so this one is just if you're from Nassau. So Letitia, send me the question privately again. This is just for Nassau. And then I'm gonna have to think of another question to give away an Amazon card for anybody that's not from now. Because the first prize, I told you we had Jimmy last week. So he donated a free month at MacFit Out East. A free month for MacFit Out East, but you have to live in Nassau for what that one. So I am gonna give a prize for the Amazon one if you don't live. Okay, so which business you have to raise your hand. You have to raise your hand, and I have to see it come up. Don't type it in the chat. Raise your hand. First one to raise your hand. Which business did Dinetia start that went nowhere, and which business helped to sustain her while in the US? Oh, that's hard to teach that. Vashti, go Vashti. Y'all gonna work for this month. Go Vashti. Vashti, you on the mic? Denise, you could have Vashti.
I can't hear.
Oh,
But she
clothing,
typed.
clothing, and then what's the one that sustained her while she was in the US? It gave her the footing that she needed. Photo booth. All right, Vashti. Email me. Tisha, do me a favor, drop my email address in there. Email me, Vashti, so that I can, Letitia's gonna drop the email. So I could get you the month at MacFit. Now this is for the Amazon gift card. This is for the Amazon gift card. Now, outside of Nassau, if you live in Nassau, you cannot answer this because y'all just had that month that y'all could have gotten just now. All right. What is the name of the Tyler Perry show that Dinetia was on? What is the name? You have to put your hand up because I have to see the hand go up. I got to see the hand go up, and you got to be from somewhere outside of Nassau for this Amazon card. What is the name of the Tyler Perry show? Okay, Sherelle, you could come on the mic.
Hey, Corral. Hey, Dinetia. Thanks for the night. Child, I can just be bold and take a guess. I think it's complications.
No, that's what
that's
she did in
no.
Freeport. It's complicated. Is what she did in Freeport. That's good, though. That's a good
Oh
try.
my God.
That was a good try.
Sorry.
We said it. I think we said it quick.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
he said quick. Okay, I'll do another
Yeah.
one. I'll do another one. We did say it quick. We'll do another one. Another question. Oh, where was it? She had her internship at BT, but she said she should have done it here. Hands up. She had her internship at BT, but she said, Sherelle said, I ready, Lionsgate. I get that Amazon.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Like the price is right. Lionsgate. Sorry.
You lucky Chantel was the next one, and she in Nassau, so she can't with it. So the Amazon gift card goes to Sherelle. And Vashti, make sure you email me. You're gonna get the month at MacFit 360 Out East. A month at MacFit 360 Out East, and Jarrell will get the Amazon gift card. So make sure you email me so I can get those to you guys. Thank you so much once again, Dinetia. Thank you guys. See you guys next week. We will be here with Courtney interviewing. Great show, very inspiring. Wish you continued success, Dinetia. Thank you guys.
Thank you. And I'm seeing everyone in the chat. Sorry, I didn't get to respond. I was trying to focus. Bye. Good night.
All right.